Great. Let's Great. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Great. We will just loosen up a little bit. Just take the jaw in that kind of shoulder width grip. Just let the weight of the arms up and down. Nice and easy. Nice through the toes, keep the knees soft. Okay, rolling front and back, including the arms with it. A little bit of rowing motion with the arms. Great. Let's work side to side a little bit. Nice and light. So to spread the arms to the end of the jerk, just take it a little bit deeper with the movement. Great, and take it into a rotation. Back to the shoulder. Great. Keep bringing the jaw back down, and again, just focusing on a kind of way through the spine now. The whole spine. Flex. And down. Nice and easy, stretching it to the top. Head in through the knees. Nice and slow. Breathing out all the way. And then we pull in through the spine. Raise it up. Down. Okay, we just take the jaw to the back. You want, in this case, the thumbs facing forward, arms out. You're just going to raise it up to the top. Just kind of softening the shoulder at the front. As high as you can with it. Nice deep breath as you hold it, about 5 seconds. Great, release it nice and slow. Again, coming up. Winding all the way up. Nice deep breath in. Keep coming to the front. You're going to have the thumbs up in this one. Again, about shoulder width apart with the arms. Just going to raise them up. go as high as you can. The key thing with this, keep the spine kind of neutral. Try not to hollow out the chest at the top. Just keep the arms neutral here. And then once you've got to that position, think about pressing the arms back a little bit. And then gently bending from the elbows, drawing the jaw all the way back. As low as you can to the shoulders. And then reversing it, coming up. Straightening up through the elbows, nice and slow. Dropping them down. Just coming in and out of that position, rolling them up. Dropping the elbows. Similar to it. Just one more time. Great. Okay, perfect. Now you're going to take the jaw, thumbs pointing in, take it to the top. Yeah. Yeah, feel like you're kind of pulling the arms apart, pulling against the jaw. And then nice and slow this one, just take one side a little bit further back. So take like the right side a little bit back, keep the left side where it is. Try and soften where you feel the tension a little bit. 4 to 5, come back, nice and slow, change the side. Drop it back. Okay, now you're going to take one side all the way down and take it that way. Pull the other side up in this one. So again, kind of splitting the hands away from each other. Right. Bring it back and changing this side. Roll the opposite side back. Back. Good. And then from here, just playing with rolling around the shoulders. So just opening one out. And through, keep the arms quite straight. And just focusing out. We've got also the shoulder in this one, chest mobility. The chest a little bit of freedom as you do it. Just work both ways freely. Change the direction. Loosen them out. So. Great. Okay, just placing the jaw over the shoulders. Just hands nice and light on the jaw. Just go to the legs. So you just want a slightly wide stance and one that's going to be comfortable for squatting. So if you feel easier with the feet kind of pointing out, go for this. But just going to kind of sit down into it. Use the jaw against the back, just as kind of like a scarecrow. You're going to keep the back nice and straight with it. So more like a kind of horse stance, but if you can go a little bit deeper into a squat, just take it there and then slowly come up. Just do a few. Slowly down, slowly back up. Just using that pressure of the jaw on the back. Just really widen into the top of the spine. Keeping that alignment as you go down. Just do one more, nice and slow. Great. And then the next you're just a little bit faster, so just coming up, pressing it. Okay, perfect. Great. Just shake out the arms a little bit. Yeah. Just take this into a light lunge. So you're going to have the arms up in this position. Yeah. You want one foot in front. And just to get into it, so you're just going to have the foot wide, not too wide, but not too narrow either. So you just want to drop down the knee into it. The front leg you want to be like 90 degrees. So you want that kind of position. And then just pressing back, pressing up out of it. So keep the jaw long. Spine long here, just dropping down, straight down. Sit into it, come up. And just a few nice and slow. Okay, and then changing the leg. So the arms up high. Just find the right distance where you're just going to drop down, drop into the knee. Great. Okay, we're going to combine these two exercises next, but this one's just first like a mobility exercise. So play with the center of the jo. You can put it in contact with the body. It can just be a little bit off, but just play with slightly winding with the arms. So the key thing here is this center of the body being able to pivot from this point. So play with releasing the hips, this kind of movement, and just play with kind of rolling the jo from high to low. So kind of going up to the throat, down the body, down towards the hips. All the time focusing on keeping this kind of central axis, basically rolling this way, and then the arms being free to move in this direction. You're working kind of two planes. You're working this way. You're working the shoulders that are kind of free. A little bit kind of rowing with the arms. Yeah, that's it. And just experiment with this kind of winding. You can do this both ways. You can let the movement go. You can let the movement go that way. You can wind it the opposite way, that way. That's perfect. Nice. And once you've got the feel for this, try and take it away from a kind of in a way like an arm exercise, and try and compact the movement so that most of the activity is kind of happening here in this part of the body. So this kind of movement is happening rather than just the arm kind of moving. So obviously the arm is moving with it, but try and have the sense that you're kind of densely connecting this kind of movement out into the arm work. That kind of feel. And again, just play kind of short movements, winding it one way, winding it the other. That's it. So we use this movement quite a lot in terms of Aikido work. If you, the obvious example, if you think about a Ryo kata, someone grabbing both shoulders, and you go into this kind of you go into this kokinage kind of movement where you're kind of rotating the body this way. So this idea of being able to twist, to turn the body on a point. So imagine with this exercise a little bit like you've got pressure coming into the body, like here, and it's like you kind of roll it off the body. So you're looking for, if you imagine someone actually pressing in, so using the jo here for contact, but you can do this the same idea with someone just pressing into the body. Have the sense that you can kind of roll the pressure. So I'm not changing it, I'm just changing the kind of orientation to it. So in the same way like with the Ryo kata. Usually we cheat with these exercises because we're doing it with movement. So I move the body, but think about that sense that you can kind of roll the structure without kind of moving the kind of location of the body. That's it. Okay, very gently now, just working with the feet, start to move the feet with it, but keep the kind of primary movement as that kind of movement. So work with kind of shifting the feet again and play with both ways of rolling. But the primary thing here is that sense of rolling the body You also think about like your 𝒉𝒂𝒃, those kind of movements where you're really coiling the body through the space. So just put a nice, simple kind of forwards, backwards movements into fencing. Nice. Okay, great. And then play with mixing these two in. So you don't have to go to the ground with this one, but play with the idea that at any point you can also curl the body down into the ground, and you can kind of continue this motion, coming in and out of the ground. Again, you don't have to go to the ground with it, but the feeling now, think that you can drop the center through the movement and then raise it up. So you want to now kind of seamless entry into the ground. Again, keeping all those alignments in place. Coming in and out of it. Like smoothly wind the body down. Smoothly roll it down. Change it. Step. There. It's kind of tricky now. You're doing lots of things, so play with what you're looking for now. What tends to happen with this kind of exercise, especially when I do as well, like I start to, that movement stops and then I go down. That's fine, and then maybe this starts again, and then I come up, and then this starts again. But think about, in this case, keeping that motion all the time. So this kind of motion, and then as you go down, think about keeping it and how you can maintain it through the movement, so that you feel constantly the body's kind of spiraling through it, up and down. So in all try and feel it at all times. That kind of spiraling, coiling move is kind of actively driving it. If you feel that it stops, stop the movement down, and then see if you can kind of feel it start again. Feel it start. So use that as the kind of drive for the movement. Nice. That's it. Okay, great. So we'll take this into something more kind of applicable in terms of our form. So take now kind of standard 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒃, left or right side, either way. And again, think about this kind of just slowly start with a little bit of contact to the body, so the jaw's kind of on the body. But now it's a little bit more focused on the hip and the backhand, but just focus on just winding, first winding, play with clockwise motion. It's kind of rolling that way. But that same idea, look for a kind of coil through the body. Just play with kind of winding it. If you feel the kind of shift, just like kind of shift the direction, just follow it. That sense kind of coiling. And first make it really kind of clear as well. So you can also start to kind of coil the jaw in this kind of way. It's kind of breaking out of the 𝒂𝒂𝒿. The main thing is just get that sense of the contact. The body kind of opening and closing in this case. Yeah. Good. You want the arms to really kind of spiral and coil with this. It's kind of feeling. Nice. Just try it on both sides as well. So, and yeah, as soon as you can shift it away from from arm exercise to kind of center work, focusing primarily on the hips, the waist, then kind of get a little bit more out of it as well. It's also a better exercise for the body. Again, from the core, bang, and keep the body up this way much faster. Wow. Yeah, that's it. That's it, right? Okay, same exercise. Now take the focus into the feet. So, but without moving them, just play with shifting the weight across the feet. So you're just going to kind of work, again, try and keep that kind of motion going, whichever way you're going, that way, and play with now in that movement, rolling the feet. So you're shifting the weight in and out of each foot. And trying to now coordinate the movement of the arms with that shift as well. Just play the speed of it as well. Sometimes it helps go a little bit faster. Slower. Just playing with both sides. Give yourself real freedom with the jet to play with different positions. Yeah, great. Nice. Yeah, it might help with this also, if you think about someone on the other end of it, or like holding the jo with it, think of kind of drawing them with the movement, and drawing them in and out. So not necessarily this idea of like pull and push them, but just trying to kind of draw them out of posture, take a slightly different angle. And if you look at someone on the other end, you're looking to slightly rearrange their structure through the context of the jo, so taking them away from the structure, making them weak. But just play with this idea that you've got someone on the other end of it at the tip. Helps focus the movement to a point as well. That kind of feeling. Yeah. Yeah, really play with shifting the weight. Shifting the weight. And at the start, it's just key that everything's kind of starting to move. Get everything mobilized. Once you feel it starts to connect again, just play with slightly condensing the movement down. A little bit more kind of sharper quality to it. But that same sense of the weight shifting is going to stay. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Right, great. We'll take this into a ski, so again, just keep the feet down with it. But the key thing now is keep that sense of the body kind of coiling with it. So it's not an obvious spiral coil movement in terms of our movement, but try and, you've got that kind of motion with the arms happening, but try and feel that the body's also really included in it, so that the whole body's going to kind of work with the ground. So obviously the strike itself hasn't got that kind of classic coiling movement which you see in other kind of Jo styles. Jo. Just putting that sense that the body can kind of coil with it. Again, it might help just to change the focus of this. If you think about someone on the other end, just with like a gentle pressure against the tip of the Jo, and feel you're kind of driving the Jo against that pressure. So rather than this idea, the record for that, you're kind of easy, which is fine. But play with this idea, you're kind of pressing through that contact point, and then kind of pushing it in and out. And also, if you imagine that pressure is constant, pushing back, and it's going to push back to this one as well. So you're going to kind of feed into the body that kind of feeling, kind of constant pressure into the system. Exit out as well. Okay, perfect. So take it now into thrust with the Jo. So obviously moving the feet now, but again, keep that sense that the body's going to kind of coil into the movement. You're going to have a sharp finish to the movement now, but keep that sense of like kind of roll through the whole body. And using the contact of the ground, center is the kind of organization point for the body. Pressing through it. Good. Sides. Good. Okay, perfect. So we'll take this into the 6 count, but we'll just go to that second and third movement. So play here with that sense, just kind of rolling up the body. Again, feel that you're doing it from the core of the body. So you've obviously got this as a big arm movement. But try and feel that you're kind of rooting it in a movement in the lower body as well. So that sense of kind of draining underneath it here. And then just play here with kind of shifting it into the strike. So kind of short movement from here, focusing on kind of dragging the Jo up to the center line, and then releasing that coil of the body. So we kind of hip work in the second movement. Focusing first, that sense of draining underneath the weapon. Drain underneath. Keeping that feeling as you go forward. Yeah, and it's kind of natural in a way to go to these three movements. The natural kind of focus for the movements tends to be the strike. That tends to take up all the focus, and everything else is just kind of going through the motion together. But really feel that those motions have kind of power in them as well. So especially this kind of motion, that kind of drawing the body up. This is a huge movement for us. We do these kind of movements all the time, the sense of raising the arms with structure behind them. If you think about like 𝒂𝒊𝒔𝒂𝒂𝒃 grips, rolling up through the body this kind of way, and then entering in. So we're using these movements kind of functionally all the time, and if they're just kind of movements in a kata that I kind of go through, then there's no real feel for them. There's no feel for those movements when I kind of get to them. So play within this case that sense that you're really kind of drawing the jaw up with structure behind it. And then also this move, really that kind of motion full of power. And then the strike itself obviously has kind of had the sharpness to it. Feel that those motions themselves, that kind of motions full of feeling. Again, we're using those motions all the time, like that kind of feeling entering through. But keep the body kind of full as you do. 1, 2, 3. It's really cutting that space all the time with the body. 1. Great, we'll take it to the Gedangaiki. So just play with this one, the sense of this is kind of classic like storing release kind of motion with this strike. So just play with the kind of storing first, or the kind of closing the body. So you're really rolling the body back into this kind of thing. The feeling really is that you're also engaging forward. So you're doing a kind of split thing again. You're always kind of trying to balance these two things. So in this one, the Joe's kind of rolling to the back, firing to the back, but keeping the energy kind of spreading to the front or engaging to the front. So play with this just from this kind of posture. That idea of drawing the jaw back, but really engaging forward with it. So you're doing this kind of double thing with drawing the jaw but engaging the body. The next move. And then just keep taking it to the strike. So play with that sense. Now, the more I can kind of roll back, take the jaw in, coil the body into a kind of spiral, the more I can kind of release it into the strike. But again, play with this idea of kind of pressing through something, pressing through a little bit of pressure, or like going through a thick kind of substance with the body. So you've got to kind of coil in with the movement through. Not too concerned with the strike at this point, or with the power in the strike, but the movement driving through into the strike. Back. So we use this movement in a few ways in terms of partner work as well, in terms of partner work. So this one has a kind of specific use, but so we'll look at all three. There's kind of two basic ones, but there's three in a practical sense. This one, the sense that you're using this as an attack, so you're grounding in the front, like, and the strikes come in first, and then you're kind of the body's coming behind it. So you've got more of a feeling of advancing, and the strikes right in, straight away in. The other way we use it is a kind of strike, but it's wedging off the line. So in that case, the priority is to get the body off the line, and then the strike follows after it. So it's using a slightly more risk-reactive way, not as an attack form, but as a kind of, I'm getting off the line, and then I'm striking in response that way. So the first one's like that, striking in really to advance aggressively, and the other one is coming off the line, and then striking as a response. Does that make sense? The third one we use is in a way using it as a block, coming back and wedging the jo as a block. So that's the third one. The third one's a variation on the second, really, like removing the body and using the jo as a block. Just the function of it's different. So just play with these three. You've got the sense that the attack in, driving behind the jo. You've got this kind of response coming off the line, finding a strike, or you've got it as a pure kind of defensive move, rolling back for the block. The same motion, but slightly different intention.
Michael.
Yeah, sure.
I have a question a little bit about the trajectory of the end.
Yeah.
If the hips are kind of going, does the trajectory, I'm going to exaggerate. Does the trajectory kind of go up and then down, or is it just kind of like right across kind of?
Yeah, I don't want it to ride up so much. So I don't want the tip to raise up like in that kind of
right
and come and drive it down. So if you think of the strike you're going for always with this movement, it's to the side of the knee. So it's that kind of strike. So you're not looking. If you think about striking those, where's my wait a second. So if you think about strike, if that's the knee, and that's my jo, what I don't want to do is raise up and strike it, because it will hit off, it will kind of ding the knee and bounce off. So the angle I want to deliver it is straight against it.
Straight on, okay.
Right, so I want to go like wham into the knee rather than where it will kind of bounce off. We'll damage, but it won't really do anything. It won't be substantial. So, but at the same time, I don't want just that to happen. So there's a coil to it. The tip moves, but I'm not focused on raising it up and coming down with it, because it's not in a way like it's not a downward strike. It's a strike that's going to go. The force of the strike's going to go in that way rather than that way.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Think about the angle that you're going to strike the knee with. And you're going to meet that angle with the body as well. And the delivery of the power is going to determine the path of the move. Yeah. And one of the potential origins for this movement, if you think about it, a lot goes back to Sensei's bayonet training. So one of the potential potential options for the origin of this movement, because it's quite a strange movement in terms of origin related to spear work as well, but it can be like a rifle. The the butt of the rifle like a strike with it. So that kind of movement, which you see a lot in terms of bayonet work, using the back of the rifle coming in. So that kind of rolling motion, that was basically translated, or you can see it as translated into that kind of movement with the end of the jo. And you can also see in a lot of the videos of Sensei, and in some of the Iwase forms, we've got that. Again, we use the get down form in a slightly different way. Rather than hitting the knee, you're using it to kind of strike the elbow. You're striking the top of the arm. So it's a kind of flexible. It's a flexible pattern. But one of the origins for that movement might be the sense of a kind of rifle, but with the back end of the rifle that way, which might help as well, or not. But useful to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, perfect. So. Great, so we'll put these three strikes together. So that you've got the 6 count, you've got the ski, you've got the yokomen, and you've got the genangaishi. So they also, if you focus on the footwork, they also practice three different patterns. So the first one's this kind of shuffling, landing the weight in the front leg, drawing back. The second one is stepping in, landing it on the right foot with the strike. And then the third one, if you go to this one, is across the structure. So you've got this leg in, and the strikes coming through that pathway, and then the foot's following in this way. So just play with those 3 ideas. Focus on where the foot's landing through the strike. So you've got like that with the front leg, this coming in from the back foot, it's a step, and then this coming in across the body as you step in behind it. So just play with these kind of strikes, these 3 areas. Footwork as well. So got 1, 2, 3. No. Good. So just focus on the bridges between the static form and the kimono form. So we'll go straight into it. We'll just work on the first 2 moves. So you're going to go straight into a Haigaishi now. So you've got the ski Haigaishi coming into this way. Key thing, Phil, with this, you can do this 2 ways. You can do it in a full kind of Kimnagari way. So you're going like 1, 2 into it. The key thing is this transition as you go into it. The other way is just like a basic 1, 2. But the key thing is feel it. This is really a movement practice. So play with it. even though it's in a static form, really think about making it into movement. Once you feel that's kind of comfortable, play with. So there's no. Just play with this exercise. So it's taking the footwork out of it. I do these kind of things a lot if I'm kind of just playing with the Joe. So again, it goes back to this one, this side, you're coming here, changing it, and then dropping the Joe through. But play with this now fluidly. So the main problem with this movement is if I've linked the upwards movement of the arms with an upwards movement of the body. So if I do that when I do the 𝒂𝒂𝒏, this pulls the structure out, and going fast will make it worse. So play with here the sense that you can drop and coil the weapon. Drop and coil the weapon. So when you're raising it, the key thing is focus on there's a drain down through the structure. Drain down through the structure. So play with this idea. You're just going to kind of switch the hands with the Joe. Switch the hands with the Joe. And feel the difference between that and that. Wait, the body just pulls straight out of the ground. You're just playing with a kind of roll through the grip with it. It's easier to feel in this one because your structure can just drop straight in, straight down to the base. So you want to feel as the body, as the arms raise, that's happening. There's a drop in the whole structure. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Wow. And then just take this back into the 𝒕𝒖𝒍𝒂𝒕 combination. This is why it's really important not to lose the center in terms of the movement. So you want to get the feeling in that I kind of hit the center down, boom, and then that into that. But as soon as I lose the center in the strike, I've got to either fall into the next movement or drag the center back, drag the arms back into the center controller. So just play that same idea, but you want to now feel that hits the ground. That, and then I can take it into that. Yeah. We'll take it to the last bridge move. So this is where you go, you're gonna connect the strike, this to this pull back with the Joe. So you're gonna strike, draw back with it in one move with this one. So again, play with the feet of it, or play with taking the feet out of it totally. So you just play with this idea of like, I hit, draw back. Well, that's so terrible. Hit, draw back. That way, somewhere like that. So you want to strike, draw it back that way. Whoa, this is a really tricky move. Okay, yeah. The main issue with this one is the teaching from the basic, which is is from this position to pull the legs back, to drag to step back with both legs. So if I do this in the kinnagai work, like that, it's very hard to keep it because the body's basically skipping through the movement. Works for the basic in terms of teaching the structure. But once you've got it, think that you're not really going anywhere with that movement. So what you do in this one is think about the right leg's in the ground there. And then just pull the back hip. The back hip just adjusts, but try and avoid trying to move both feet with this one. This doesn't really work in terms of kinnagai. It's the same movement that's taken from the second. So that is taken out of it. So just going into the same here, that is taken out to just become one kind of motion. Basically pull back a bit. Yeah. Yeah, good one. Yeah, good. So just take it slowly to the full set now. So the other difference now is at the end, where you've got 1 into 2, drag it back, and then 3 is going to roll through all the way through with the strike. So main points, those kind of transitions now. That to that, draw it back, drop in to the strike. So you can either choose to either finish with a strike with this one, or finish with the full flow through back to the 𝒂𝒗. Just mix them in. The key thing is these kind of changes in between the strikes. That one, and one. Important work right now. Again, just use a slight image with this. So if you go back to this idea of like having contact with it, with something at the end of the jo, like you're kind of pressing through it. So think of the last kind of 10% of the strike. So like that kind of movement, like you're kind of pressing through something. And also really important with the strike. So again, the focus tends to take all the effort, or tends to take all the concentration, that last part of it. Think about as you kind of wedge into the strike, you're kind of cutting through something. So from that point, this point down, something wedging into it, so that you want the sense to kind of bite into the movement, that kind of feeling. And the same with this Gedangaeshi, even when it's kind of a flow through form, about here in the strike, that feeling that you're kind of pressing through something with it. So imagine something kind of soft, but kind of dense and soft, something like that. It's going to kind of collapse with it, but it's got a kind of heaviness to it. So you want a sense that you're kind of cutting through something with the jo, but it's going to kind of roll through. And I want the sense to really kind of bite the movement. It's like that last 15% of the movement of the strike. Okay, perfect. We will stop there. Very good. Very nice. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Great, perfect.
Thank you.